All right, so we had some questions on how to do the table and how to turn this into a fraction that the system would accept. So let's go over that. This first one we have the percent, 0.04%. We know that this means out of 100. So we're going to put 0.04 over 100. But we do not want to have a decimal over a 100, right? So let's turn that into a decimal number by dividing this by 100 to tell us what to actually put as our fraction. So we have 0.04 divided by 100. That's going to equal 0.004. All right, now turn this into a fraction. All we're going to do is count the number of zeros here. Oh, and I didn't put enough zeros. Sorry. There should be 3 zeros. We're going to count the number of decimal places right here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 decimal places behind the decimal, right? So that is how many zeros go underneath this the whole number. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, in order to turn this into, this is your fraction, but in order to put this in the system, what you want to do is reduce it as much as possible. And we can do that by finding a number that we can divide the top and the bottom by. And in this case, we can use the number 4. So we know that 4 divided by 4 is 1. And we could say 10,000, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 4 zeros, divided by 4 is 2,500. So the fraction you're going to put in is 1 over 2,500, and that goes right here. So we put in our fraction, we put in 1 over 2,500, okay? So now for this decimal, we have 22.5%, which we know is equal to 22.5%, because 0.5 equals a half, right? We know that from having done other problems. So now we know we could put that over 100. So 22.5 over 100, that's going to give us our decimal. So 22.5 divided by 100 equals 0.225. Okay, so we have 3 decimal places, so that's going to be 225 over 1 and 3 zeros, because it's 3 decimal places. All right, so now we're going to divide the top and the bottom to reduce by the same number. So 225, let's just do 25. Divided by 25 equals 9. So that's 9 on top. And let's divide the bottom by 25. So we have 1,000. Divided by 25 is equal to 40. So 9 over 40, we can't reduce this anymore because that is, they don't have any factors in common, right? So we know that the decimal is going to be 0.225, and the fraction is going to be 9 over 40, okay? Now we're going to do the last one. Let me clear the page so we have a blank page and plenty of space. If it'll let me, here we go. All right, so the last one is 1/4%. 1/4, if we divide it, you'll see 1 divided by 4 is 0.25. So we have 0.25%. So we put 0.25 over 100. So we divide that number by 100, and that gives us 0.0025 as our decimal. Right, so now we could turn that into a fraction by putting 25 over, and then the 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, so the number 1 and 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, that's 10,000. Now we can divide or reduce that fraction. An easy way to do that is by factoring. So if you want to use your prime factorization, we know that the top is 5 times 5. Let's see if we can get 5 times 5 out of the bottom. So if we say 10,000, Let's just see if we can do 25, right? So 10,000 divided by 25, that's going to be 400. So ignore this right here because we didn't need to do that. We divide this by 25, we get 1. We divide this by 25, we get 400. So that's going to be our fraction over here. So we have 0.0025. We got that from here. And this was our fraction that created. And then this is our actual reduced fraction, which goes here. Oops. See if I can undo that. The only way to undo that is just delete it and retype it. And then put in here. One of the things I've noticed is that you've got to get it to accept all the answers with a check mark at least once before it will save it if you have to redo a problem. So click it, there it goes. But you've got to work it out on paper before you type it in here. Make sure you got the right answer. All right, that was one set. Now we have these types of problems, and all you really have to do is convert this, right? 62.25%. So if 750 is increased, that means that this is the original 100%. The original percent is 100%. The new percent is going to be this 100% plus this because we're increasing it. So that would be 162.25%. That's the new amount. This is the original amount. That's 100%. So 750 would go here, and we don't know what the new number is, so you would cross multiply to solve that. Next problem. This one is very straightforward. What number, that's x, that's equal 15.5%, 15.5% of, that's multiplication, 9,000. Very straightforward. Solve that for x, type the number in here. All right. And then the last problem is just more of what we did on the very first table. And that's all we have for today's lesson.